Long Fallen Dynasty kicks off with starter bosses that are harder than some other game's final boss. That's not a joke. So I'm going to quickly show you how to get your character buff in the starting areas, give you some combat tips, and explain how to take down the first 3 bosses with only a minor amount of palm sweat. And hey, if you want more on Long, hit subscribe. Starting from the very beginning, this is the tutorial land, but there are some important things to do here before you move on. After a couple of fights, you'll see this nicely decorated tree on fire off to the left, but make sure not to miss these boxes off to the right to snag yourself a better chest piece. Then back over to that tree, just run straight through these flames here, it doesn't really hurt that much, and then immediately hug the wall to the right to avoid this tiger thing. Jump up onto this building and you'll see a hole in the roof, but before you drop down it, continue forward to grab this cookie and then down here to grab this other cookie. Now head back to that hole in the roof and drop down, and you'll find a chest with drastically fancier pants. I'd buy those pants. I wouldn't recommend fighting the Tiger Bro at this point, but if you really want to, you can take off almost half of his health bar by doing a jump attack off that roof. Since performing deflects is so important in this, if you're struggling with the timing, I suggest you buffer your dodges by holding the block button when you tap dodge. That way, if you misjudge the input for the deflect, you at least have your block instantly raised, which might mitigate some of that damage. Now at this point, the next thing you're going to do is take on the first boss, so time to prepare. Make sure you munch on all those key items you've maybe found up to this point, and then level up as many times as you can. Spells are not going to do much for this first boss, but you can throw on the enhanced defense spell in the earth category, which gives you a temporary defense buff. A faster weapon like a sword is going to be your best bet for this boss, and also make sure you keep your equipment load number in the green. Even take off a piece of gear if it's in the yellow if you need to. If your equipment load is too high, you're going to really struggle with the spirit gauge management, which is like the main mechanic in the game. Now that you're ready, it's time for an awkwardly challenging required tutorial boss. No, this is not one of those ones where you're kinda supposed to die. The key to this fight is a complete rushdown on him. Don't bother with spells from far away or carefully hanging around at mid-range. Keep constantly pressed on him, flailing away with basic attacks and deflecting when possible. This game doesn't have a traditional stamina system, so mashing out basic attacks is actually encouraged rather than holding back. Basic attacks will push the spirit gauge to the right up into the blue section, and then and only then should you be pressing the heavy attack button. Heavy attacks, also called spirit attacks, drain your spirit gauge to the left, but if these are activated while the meter is in the right section, which is blue, spirit attacks will actually get a damage boost, which is visually shown by your character flashing. When you see this boss glowing red, he's setting up for his charge attack, but just dodge directly into him when this is happening to drastically reduce his spirit gauge, which will set him up for a critical hit when it's fully depleted. Once he's downed, it's time for phase 2, but you only have to get his HP bar down to half to finish this. If you get too far away from him, he's going to try to do this stretchy arm move, so try your best to deflect it. Same as before, keep up the offensive using a string of basic attacks followed by spirit attacks or your weapon's special actions by holding right bumper and pressing square or triangle PlayStation, X or Y Xbox. When you finally get his health bar down to half, you're going to get a prompt to call on a divine beast, which will close out the basic tutorial. Phew! Then the next area begins, and up ahead you'll meet your first real ally. He will tag along with you for this entire region, and is a complete game changer. By holding down right bumper, you can press up on the D-pad to send him into battle, which also gives him a pretty strong buff as well. This will cost a little bit of your spirit gauge to do, but this dude is a powerhouse and can make fights much easier since he can tank enemies for you. After you make your way through this part, you'll come up to a wooden gate, which is the next boss, so be ready. Right as soon as this starts, buff your companion and try to use him to aggro the boss's attention. Most of the incoming attacks from this thing will be from the front, so try to keep rotating yourself around to the backside to create a pincer between you, the boss, and your companion. Once you finish this fight, you'll unlock your first Divine Beast, which functions kind of like an ultimate attack. Heading out from the boss arena, you can't miss this hammer lady, and make sure to talk to her twice. This will allow you to either buy any other weapon types you want to switch to or try out, but most importantly, upgrade a weapon. You should have enough materials to improve your preferred weapon once, which will increase its overall damage value. Now back to that Divine Beast that you just unlocked, it has two possible uses. Pressing triangle and circle, or Y and B, does a one and done special attack. However, at this point in the game, you might find its buff effect to be more useful by pressing X plus square or A plus X at the same time. That'll give you a fairly long-lasting buff instead, which applies the stone element to your weapon, decreases damage taken, and increases spirit recovery. After you fight your way through this next area, you'll plant a flag right before this large gate, but wait, we have a few things to do first. Make sure you didn't miss this Dragon Vein crystal in a nearby building, because that will give you a permanent extra use of your health item. You should also make sure to have your Divine Beast gauge all the way filled up before you start the next boss. If you unlock the Inner Breath spell under the Wood category, this buff will let you rapidly accumulate charge for your Divine Beast. This can make a lot of things much easier if you're popping this before fights. Also make sure to have a fire spell or two on you, because this next boss is weak to fire. Now that you're ready, head through the gate and it begins. Immediately give that buff to your ally and then throw out subsequent fire spells quickly to apply the burn effect. Then when you see a good opportunity, apply your Divine Beast buff with X and square or A and X. This boss has some fairly obvious strong attacks, so watch out for the belly flop, just deflect it right when it starts heading down, or intercept this charging dash right before it hits you. That'll do it for that fight, and ideally it went pretty smooth, right? Let me know. I have some more content planned for the launch of Wolong, some mid to late game stuff probably, so stick around if you want more gameplay breakdowns. If you've gotten your hands on with the demo, or you're watching this later with the full game, let me know what you think of the combat mechanics, and how you think it stacks up to Nioh and Nioh 2. As always, I'm Alex, and I'll see you soon in the next one.